episode 16, and we are absolutely honored. We've got the CEO of Aerovek and Kavarii, Ryan, with us. Ryan, how you doing?
Ryan.
Welcome
Hello,
to
guys.
the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be on here and kind of drop whatever knowledge I have and kind of just shoot the shit and see where we go.
Yeah. It's been a fast summer. I tell you what, we were kind of talking about getting you or anyone from the team on the show. I think it was as early as April or May. Things got kind of crazy, but we're here now, and like I said, it's really great to have you on the show, and I'm personally super excited to get into Aerovek, Kavarii, Ryan, your personal background and everything. But yeah, really appreciate you making the time to be on our show.
Yeah, of course. Big fan. I love the content you guys put out. As I was saying, it's very entertaining and insightful. So, congrats on that and the success. And, hopefully we keep growing and grow the ecosystem and keep building cool stuff.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Ryan. It's great having you here, Ryan. I know there's a lot of excitement building around the Kavarii ecosystem that you guys are about ready to drop. I know August 20th is supposed to be the date that you guys are going to be dropping your Kavariian NFTs. So there are a lot of people excited about that. But I think we just need to go ahead and start with who you are, Ryan. Why you decided to come to the Elrond ecosystem in the first place, and just give us a little bit about your background and why you're here.
Yeah, definitely. So my background is in mostly engineering. So I started out, out of high school and went to some trade school to learn fiber optics and became a fiber optic engineer. Did that for about 7 years, give or take. Moved into civil engineering, designing subdivisions, things like that. That got boring really quick. I didn't like the cubicle job, so to speak. So this was early 2000s. I started learning to write code because I love the idea of being able to create something out of nothing, taking a blank web page and turning it into something interactive or whatever. And this was when Web 2 was really getting popular with social media sites and all that kind of stuff. So really kind of just dove in feet first. And the next 15 years, just kind of kept coding along, building random projects and, really found my passion for it. And then when Web 3 first started coming out or when I got exposed to it, 2016, 2017, something like that, it was like a calling, right? It's like, oh shit, everything's led me to this point. I love everything about it. I love, the purpose of the blockchain and the different utilities it has and what it can do for us. And at that point, I just kind of needed to find a way to get my in, right? Like, where do I fit into this space and what can I build that's actually going to have any kind of value for anybody? And, I built a few little projects. I never really saw the light of day. Mostly just testing, playing with Ethereum, built some stuff on Tron, which was a nightmare. But, when I found Elrond as an investor on Binance, it was the day it got listed. And I was a token hunter or sniper, as they would call them. I'd sit there, because back in 2017, I don't know if you guys remember or whatever, but a token listing was like a huge deal, right? I mean,
Yeah, oh, for sure.
The price was pumping through the roof and, the excitement, if it got dropped on Binance or something like that, I mean, it was just absolute chaos for a couple hours. So I remember, it was like when I first saw Elrond hit and then started looking into it, it's like, okay, I knew the scalability issues with Ethereum and the gas fees and different issues with it. So when I saw the transaction speed of Elrond, it really caught my interest. And so I kind of just dove in the rabbit hole and started learning more and dove into the Telegram, started chatting it up with some of those folks. And, the rest is kind of history. I fell in love with technology and the community and the way the community was so supportive of each other. Unlike Ethereum, where you have like factions of people, all supporting different sizes or different levels of the development, right? I mean, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's not a one for all community like Elrond is. And so it was kind of just a change of pace. And I loved every bit of it. And I was begging for tools to play with, I was talking to Sever and some of the other guys from the Telegram and, give me some APIs, give me something to play with here. And they would feed me little things. And that's when we started building like that NFT menu and stuff like that. And, it came down to, okay, what am I going to build that's a long lasting product? And at the time I was really into, still am, aviation and getting my pilot's license. And my flight instructor is also a good friend of mine and business partner, but he was telling me all the issues with the aviation industry. And it kind of just was like an aha moment. Blockchain can solve a lot of this. So that's where Aerovek kind of came in. And dove in with that. And then, Kavarii, obviously, we'll talk more about, but that was more of I want to build something for everyone. Because aviation is such a niche market, right? It doesn't relate to everybody on the planet, but a video sharing, streaming platform does. I don't think there's anybody on the planet that hasn't used YouTube at some point or whatever, or gained some kind of value from it. So that was kind of a passion project that I spun off, and we kind of just went after it 110%, and here we are today.
Yeah, wow. That was an awesome overview, and I had like probably 3 or 4 different questions kind of pop up. So I mean, but that segues into kind of a point that I wanted to make and let you know, Ryan, I appreciate about you is just how transparent and open you are with engaging with the community. And I mean, maybe it's because the Kavarii is really getting a lot of spotlight with that mint coming up, and the different partnerships like with Proteo has been a recent thing with AERO, and it seems like you're kind of popping up all over the place. I appreciated just in Go Guy Go, Marcus, whenever he came and visited you in Chico, it was great to hear some of what led you to this space. And something that really stood out to me was, as you said, you got interested in coding, and how you saw it as something that was just, you don't need very many resources to build something. And I think that's extremely evident that is kind of what set your fire, because I'm just really impressed with how Aerovek, it kind of came around, and it was one of those first kind of brands that we all knew in Elrond, the ecosystem. And then now with this Kavarii too, it's like, this is really great, and it's really impressive and inspiring to see, this Aerovek, as you referred to on Marcus's channel. It was kind of like this project that was more, as you called it, a determination project, and whereas the Kavarii now is coming along and it's a passion project. And yeah, I mean, your fire has really been set, and I'm curious to just understand from for me and for all the viewers, as a CEO, as somebody with a limited resource being time, what does it look like for you to balance these things, and where are your priorities when it comes to achieving what you want to achieve?
Yeah, well, thank you for the kind words. Obviously, for the way I look at things is I don't like to be stagnant. When I work on one thing for too long, it gets stagnant. I lose focus. I lose creativity. It's really hard to kind of keep that flow going. And so for me, it's having the ability to bounce back and forth, and change speeds, and change focuses on different projects. I think it keeps the creativity flowing. It keeps me more engaged with the projects, and it allows me to not get bored or just kind of lethargic on working on any one thing. So I actually prefer having multiple things going on. I love to multitask. I love to always have something to do. Idle hands drive me crazy, and I tend to get in trouble, when I don't have anything to do. So it kind of made the most sense for me to have something going all the time. Being the CEO is not my first choice. That's not where I'm most comfortable. I'm most comfortable building things and solving problems, I guess. It's the engineering background in me. But it's a job that somebody's got to do, and I guess I keep trying to give it away to other team members, and they don't want it. So I'll hold on to it for now, I guess. But the way we operate it, Aero Labs, which is our corporation, is it's not your traditional corporate structure. It's not a top-down approach. We don't have bosses. We don't have management. We don't have any of that, kind of bad vibe environment.
Web 2 type lingo.
Yeah, exactly. So, for here, it's we all work as one and as a team. And, I don't mean to make it sound cliche or cheesy, but I mean, it's just, we're all buddies, right? There's 6 of us, the core team that all work in the same office. And, the idea is you can work from wherever you want, right? If you need to stay home and knock some shit out, stay home. Like, you don't have to ride in, there's no clocking in, there's nothing like that. So, it's just a really good vibe, and it's a good environment, and we all thrive off each other, and push each other to kind of be better. And, I hope more corporations, the Web 2 type, take notice of this, because, before I came and did this, I started a tech company back in 2018. out of necessity for a job, essentially. But we ran it for 4 years. I sold my piece out and got out because it was in the automotive industry, and I don't like the automotive industry at all. It's not my it's not my vibe, I guess you could say. It's a lot of what's in it for me and snakes in the grass, and it's not a healthy environment for someone. And so I was glad to bounce out and start this, and created my own vision of let's have a team effort. Let's not have a management telling you what to do, and a boss over here yelling at you for being late and all that kind of bullshit.
For sure.
And that's really refreshing to hear, Ryan, a different approach to managing employees and just running a workplace in general. Speaking of your workplace, how big is your guys' team currently, and do you have plans in the future to continue to expand as Aerovek and Kavarii grow?
Yeah, so we've added 2 developers in the last couple months, last 3 months or so. Our current team, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we have 6 in the office here that either are here or working from home every day. Then we've got 4 or 5 that are remote, that live in different countries or whatever, that are still part of the core team and still add value in different ways. And then we have 10 or so community mods and community leaders that we try to transition. Like Renee, for instance, was one of the first mods that we had, became a community manager, started learning smart contract development, and so we quickly moved him up to the development team, and now he's helping us develop our smart contracts and stuff like that. So we really encourage anybody to kind of take any job they want, or if they want to move from being a community leader on social to moving to a development type role.
Yeah.
Then we'll help you with that. We'll help train you or find you the resources and move you along so you can get there. And I think it's such a great way to build a team. And I don't want to use the term loyalty, but it's a great way to build a team that really believes in what you're doing, right? And wants to work to build that greater good that we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. So, definitely in the description of this video, we'll put all sorts of links so that our viewers can really kind of dig in as deep as they want to go with both of these Kavarii and Aerovek kind of companies, platforms, whatever you want to refer to them as. But just for any viewers that might be joining us and don't really know anything about what's going on over with you, Ryan, and what you're building, what does kind of, I know you mentioned the team isn't kind of this formal structure, and it's a passion project at the forefront. But who are kind of the key members? What are some of the key roles that you're finding are really integral to building these and executing with success right now, and of course as you kind of move forward?
Yeah, of course. So at the top level is the branding and the marketing and the message. That's really what helps get all the effort that we're putting into out there. And that's Max and Mike. Max is our marketing director, and Mike is our creative content director. Between those 2 guys, and they worked with me at my last tech company, and that's that's how we met really and became friends. And now obviously they're over here, but everything kind of starts with them, because the branding and messaging is so important. You could build the greatest thing in the world, right? But if nobody knows about it, what's the point? Yeah. So that's the idea, to kind of put that at the forefront. But I'm also a firm believer in function over form, right? So you've got to have a product that works. And so, I do a lot of the smart contract development. Renee is coming up, and he's really been a huge help in the Dope Eagle staking and things like that. So we kind of bounce around and we'll work on any kind of project that needs to be worked on. But we have Jay Martinez, who's our native app developer, and his sole focus is on Chartr. And so he has a lot of experience in the native world, and we were lucky enough, to find somebody in Chico, right, that's a great developer, because Chico's not a big town, up in Northern California. For those that don't know, population of about 90,000, but we have a great university here, so we're able to kind of pluck talent from that. Oh, nice. And so we've got another kid that came over from Chico State master's program in computer science, and he's a native app developer as well as web or blockchain. He's got a little bit experience in everything. So he's building a native wallet for us that we're going to be able to use for Kavarii, because it's important for us to understand that not everybody that's going to come to Kavarii knows about crypto or Elrond, right? And so having to steer them to a third party to download a wallet and they bounce around, it's it can be a pain in the ass, right? So,
Absolutely.
offering the ability to have a native wallet that's integrated into the site, because the whole goal is to use blockchain without knowing you use blockchain, right? I mean, it's you don't want to overcomplicate this stuff, and some people tend to make it like they want to show off how complicated blockchain can be to the user, and it kind of ends in a shitty user experience. So, I'm kind of the opposite. I don't want you to know what's underneath the hood. I just want you to have a smooth user experience, right? And so that's kind of the mantra that we have in development. But, we have August, who's been a good friend of mine for 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. He worked with me in my last company. He's our systems admin. He builds all of our servers, keeps all the internet running and all that kind of fun stuff. Because we like to host all of our own servers at home. We're not using AWS. We're not using any of those kind of third-party companies that are, a point of failure. We want everything in-house and fully controllable by, us, the team. So he does a fantastic job of running all of our nodes for Aerovek Staking Agency and the servers for Aerovek and for Kavarii. So, that's the core team that works here in Chico. We also have Sab. I call him Sab. But he's the Chico State kid. He lives here in Chico, but he bounces back and forth down to LA and travels around a lot. So he works remote often. But between all those guys, we can build a lot of stuff, which is exciting to have. A strong development team, a strong branding team, because whenever we're getting ready to put a product out, those guys jump on it, man, and they have the branding done within 24, 48 hours, and we're pushing stuff out. So as a team, we can move really quick. Which I think is important in crypto because the space moves really quick.
Oh yeah, and yeah, the fact that Chico is maybe not the first city maybe people think of when they think of California or the United States in general, I think that's absolutely a testament to the brain power, the expertise, the executional abilities of the team. For maybe you haven't even heard of Chico, it's like, dang, and they're doing all of this, and as you said, it sounds like you're impressed with the pace that these things are being put out, and I'm sure that makes you happy as a CEO.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, these guys crank things out, and because of the environment that we created, right, where it's not clock in, be here at 8 o'clock, stay till 5, all that kind of nonsense. It's 10 o'clock at night and these guys are grinding away, and it's not one of those things where we have to tell them to do something. It's like, hey, what do you think about doing this or this? And it's like, oh yeah, let's jump in and let's try this. And it's a 24/7 job, it feels like, but it doesn't feel like a job, right? It's just some buddies that are building cool shit. And that's what I love about it, and that's, what I would encourage any corporate structure, HR or managers to kind of relook at the way that they treat their employees, because giving them that gruesome schedule and that force-fed, kind of task development, it doesn't work very well, I would like to see a lot of these guys change in their process and the way they do things, but old dogs, new tricks, and all that kind of stuff. So best of luck to them. We're just going to do it our way.
Love to hear it.
We've been taking this overall view of your company so far, but let's go ahead and dive in a little bit deeper to what you guys are about. So I know Aerovek, it's this aerospace blockchain company that's trying to just redefine the aviation industry. Can you tell us a little bit more about why you decided to develop Aerovek in the first place? I know you said you were getting your pilot's license and you had some buddies that were telling you about the issues. What are these issues that you saw, and why did you decide to go ahead and start developing this platform that is Aerovek?
For sure. So the very first thing that I tell everybody is digital flight logs. So when I first started learning to fly, you have these little booklets, with paper, and you write down, your flight time and who your instructor was and all that jazz. For one, it was illegible, right? Jamie, I love him, but he scribbles and I can't read half the stuff, or whatever. The other half is I got coffee stains on them. I've lost 2 of them and had to start over. And I'm like, this sucks. Like, this is the worst thing ever. And just watching him as a trainer, all the analog, I'll call it analog, all the analog ways that he was doing things, really kind of showcased that, like, this industry has not been upgraded at all, and then all of us have flown commercially, right, through Southwest or Delta, and how much of a nightmare is that process? So, those were a couple of the key factors, when I was first kind of looking into a product around this. But my last tech company, I was flying private a lot for business meetings in San Francisco, and we were about 3.5-hour drive from San Francisco. but about a 45-minute flight. And so Jamie, I have an airport that's about 10 minutes from my house, and that's the airport that my business partner owns. So he would fly me down to these business meetings, and I'd be back before noon, right? To where if I was going to drive between city traffic and all that, it's an all-day experience.
Yeah.
And the traffic, you get home, you're so frustrated, pissed off. It's like, dude, this like I hate this. Like there's got to be a better way. And the kind of stigma is, if you're going to fly private, it's going to cost you $10,000 an hour. Private jets, it's only for the ultra wealthy. And I'm flying around on a little Cessna, 180, 182, and it's a couple $100 an hour at the most, and you can take 4 people with you. It's a very cost-effective way to travel. So I'm like, why are not more people doing this? Like, why didn't I didn't even know about this stuff, right? And I'm best friends with the guy that runs the damn thing. So I started asking him about it, and he started filling me in on Part 135 charter businesses and things like that. And he had an interest to start one. And I said, okay, well, what if we could build an app, that operated like Uber, that aggregated all these flight instructors and pilots that have aircraft that could fly people around? Why don't we, bring that into a decentralized app and build, a social economy around it of sorts? And, he loved the idea, and I obviously love the idea. And that's kind of where the idea got started, right? To where we started penciling out what it's going to look like and how it's going to operate and all that fun stuff. But that's really what, led me to this place. And then once we kind of dove in and started doing market research, market analysis, and, opportunity analysis and all that fun stuff, there wasn't a lot of options out there. I mean, there's centralized options, you go NetJets or, something like that, but they were all expensive private jets. You don't have to fly on a private jet. Like, there's a lot of options outside of that. If you want to take a flight with your buddy up to Tahoe, from here, it's a couple hours through the mountains driving, but you can fly up there in a half hour, right? And go snowboarding all day and then fly home. And it's like, full shit. Like, only cost me a couple $100 to do. Like, everybody needs to be exposed to this. So that was really the idea behind it. So Chartr is going to operate just like Uber. It's going to aggregate different charter businesses. We're going to have our own charter business that we're in the process of setting up right now. So, the Aerovek company will have planes that will fly people around. And then we're just going to see where it goes from there. It's a very difficult task, but we have good connections in the industry. We've been, making friends with a lot of charter businesses and things like that are interested in coming on. And, for them, it's a real simple thing, right? It doesn't cost them anything, and they can expand their business and be exposed to more customers. And there's a lot of little tools that Aerovek really kind of helps improve on. If you are taking a multi-$1,000 flight and you're going to use a credit card to pay for it, well, you're paying 2.5 to 3 to 4, 5% in fees. To where if you use the AERO token, you're only paying the gas fees, right? Which is a couple cents. So you can see how quick that you're going to save money by just that one little function of the app.
Yeah. You mentioned the gas fees. Did that have something to do with you guys building on Elrond for this Aerovek platform?
Yeah, 100%. This wouldn't be possible on, it would be possible. I don't want to say that, but it wouldn't be feasible. It wouldn't be, wouldn't make a lot of sense on Ethereum. One of my biggest problems with crypto, before Elrond came around was the speed of the transactions. Bitcoin, having to pay for coffee and waiting there for 20 minutes with the chick and, for whoever to give you your coffee because your payment went through. That doesn't make sense for anybody. And I know things have come a long way since then. You got Lightning Network and different things. So I don't want to get the Bitcoin community, with the torches out. But when I first saw Elrond and saw the transaction speed and saw the cost, it's like, okay, now we have a feasible product. We have something that we can build with that makes sense and is usable for the average person, right? Because who wants to go spend $50 in gas fees to buy a $10 coffee? I mean, that shit doesn't make sense. And I know people will say, well, there's layer 2s out there that fix it and all that. And that's fine. I don't want a product that you need to make another product better. That doesn't make sense when you have something like Elrond that has everything all ready to go. And, building the smart contracts is really easy. I was able to pick that up really quick. And now the flexibility of the smart contracts, we can do all this cool stuff. So, the sky's really the limit on what we can do.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome to hear that. Of course, I don't think we would probably be here if AERO wasn't building on Elrond Network. I mean, podcast Elrond probably, wouldn't exist either. But yeah, that was a great question, Alec, about, just some of the roots of Aerovek Aviation. And I tell you what, Ryan, the thing that excites me, I think a lot of people are, in one way or another, visual learners, and especially experiential learners, and kind of combine or relating our experiences with kind of what could exist or what potential there could be for reform or improvement. And just thinking about when or why people travel, why do people get on planes? And while of course people use planes for those meetings and so forth, like you mentioned, there's this huge aspect of travel and adventure that is paired with hopping on a plane, packing up, just so much excitement. And for me, something that really kind of sparked something in me was just thinking about all of the steps that it takes to board a plane, whether it be TSA, whether it be dealing with traffic, crowds, all of these elements, they build up, and they take just a little bit away from that overall experience. So I think it's great, obviously, the conversation surrounding blockchain and Web3, power to the people, and putting freedom back into the hands of the users. And that's something that really excites me is through this Chartr app, just being able to pull out a phone, being able to circumvent traditional fees by leveraging blockchain technology. And basically, I mean, what would the process look like? Would you just, is it like you would get an Uber, and then you drive to this local regional airport and you just pull out your backpack and just hop right onto the plane, shake hands with the pilot? Like, what is this experience going to feel like for everybody who gets involved and uses it?
Yeah, great question. And I think this is something that we're going to film the very first flight because I want everybody to see it. But it's unlike anything else. And what I like to tell people is once you fly private, you never want to go back to commercial. And it's not for the glamorous, looking like you're a famous Instagram star and all that bullshit. It's because of the efficiency, like you were talking about with TSA and having, for me, I have to drive to the airport. It takes 2 hours. I got to be there 2 hours early. I got to fight the traffic. I got to deal with them throwing my shampoo and cologne out and all that shit. It's like, and then you sit on a plane with 60, 80 people that you don't know, right? And you got them coughing, hacking, half of them are drunk and half of them are assholes or whatever. So it's not a fun experience at all. So what this experience looks like with Chartr is, excuse me, just like with Uber, you go on the app and you find a local charter business or whatever. You click, you schedule it with them, you talk to the pilot directly through the app. You let them know, hey, I'm looking to go this day. These are the people that's going with me, because you have a manifest. Every flight has a manifest of, they call it souls on board. And once you kind of go through some of that due diligence, you literally drive right out to the airport onto the tarmac. You can park your car right there. You get out and you get on the plane and you go. Nobody's searching you. Nobody's questioning you. You can pop champagne if you want to. You can really kind of do whatever you want, to the pilot's, rules, I guess. But, my pilot, Jamie, is freaking awesome. Me and him like to go and just have fun. And, what's cool about him and what he's capable of, and a lot of other pilots, I'm sure, say you want to go on a camping trip, right? You want to go up to the mountains. These planes can land almost anywhere, especially his planes. He's got some really cool kind of bush planes that, if you want to go to literally the middle of nowhere, he'll find a place to land in the middle of nowhere. And you just throw your camping gear in there, you land, you get out, you set up camp, and, you camp and party for a few days, you get back on the plane, you take off. I mean, it's...
What about if people want to jump off of the plane? Like, I mean, is that something to expand to in terms of like parachuting adventures? Yeah. Like, sorry, I just interrupted. Go ahead, please.
No, that's a great point. Because that's something that Max went and did up in Reading or somewhere around here. He scheduled a day to go out and jump out of an airplane. I don't know why anybody would ever want to do that, but I'm afraid of heights personally. So I'm kind of a bitch when it comes to that stuff. But that's one of the great things about Chartr is anything that's available in the air is going to be available in the app. If you want to find a flight instructor and take a discovery flight, which most flight instructors will give you the first flight free, just to get you in the air and see if it's something you like and you want to pursue, right? Before you start paying for training. And if you want to go skydiving, if you want to, propose to your girlfriend and have a skywriter write, a message in the air, the social economy of Chartr is going to allow for any of that. And drone pilots, if you are a real estate agent, you want to get drone footage of a house that you're putting on the market, you'll be able to go there and find that as well. So it's not just private flights, it's anything and everything to do with being up in the air. And
that's awesome.
If you want to jump out of an airplane, have at it. It probably won't be me.
Fair.
Yeah, that does sound like an awesome thing that you guys are developing. I know that you guys are currently in the beta stage. When do you think you're going to be moving to the I don't know, is it called the alpha stage, the ready product, whatever you might call it? Yeah, I don't know what
for Chartr.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, so Chartr is still in development. We haven't released any phases yet for that.
Okay.
Kavarii is in alpha phase. So Chartr is one of those things that we keep coming up with new things, right? This is probably one of my biggest faults that I have is I can't stand still, right? It's like I'm the kid that chases those shiny objects all the time, and so it's like, okay, we finish a function, it's like, well, why don't we do this too, or why don't we add this, or it slows down progress, but really it promotes a really great product in the end because you're thinking of every different angle. So our goal is by the end of Q4 this year, Q1 next year, is to have it actually launched out there for people to use. Because, one of the biggest features of Chartr is the on and off ramps for payment gateways. So, just like I said with Kavarii, we've got to expect that these people don't understand blockchain or Elrond, right? We've got to prepare ourselves to kind of onboard these people that aren't familiar with crypto. And so one way to do that is through a payment on ramp and off ramp. So the way it's going to work is similar to Coinbase or Gemini. You connect your bank account. We use the same technology. We have a partnership with Plaid and Prime Trust.
Nice.
And so what that's going to do is once you connect your bank account, you can buy AERO directly in the app, or Bitcoin or Ethereum or any of the top coins. Then you can use those to spend, to buy your flights or whatever you want. But the important thing is for the pilot. The pilot is going to receive that crypto, right? He needs to be able to pay his bills. He's got to pay fuel costs and all that. So having him bounce out of the app and go to, Binance or something like that, if he's not familiar with crypto, is never going to happen, right? So we've got to make that process as streamlined as possible. So he's going to be able to sell whatever that crypto is, if it's AERO, if it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, or whatever, and move it directly into his bank account, just like Coinbase. And then on top of that, as an added feature, we'll have debit cards. And so that's something else that's in the process that I think is going to be a huge win for the pilots and, for everybody on the app, is to be able to, when they need to go pay for their gas, they can pay with their Chartr card, right? And spend their crypto directly through the Visa gateway or whatever. So, the main goal is to make it as simple as possible, make it, seem like they're not using this super high-tech, blockchain functionality. It's just another method for them to earn a living, get customers, and, run a successful business.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the on-ramps and off-ramps, and you also mentioned other top coins. So with paying on the Aerovek platform, does that mean you don't only have to use the AERO tokens? You could also use Ethereum, any of these other top coins that you were mentioning?
Yeah, you can use any of the most popular coins. Obviously we're not going to carry every coin. It's not possible, but we have to have liquidity providers for the coins that we do carry. So obviously it's easy to get market makers for Bitcoin, Ethereum, any of the top ones. But the caveat to that is if you use AERO, there's no fees. There will be a fee involved if you want to use Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any of the other coins. So, one way it's to promote using the AERO token, but we want them to use AERO token because it's so cheap to transact with and it's so quick. If they're using Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever, they're I call it the legacy systems they're going to be using, and they can't go through our own Rust, Elrond smart contracts to do that. It's going to have to be an outside source that transfers those funds and bridges them over. So there's going to be a fee involved. But I foresee that anybody that's going to use the app more than once, they're going to get into the AERO token just because it makes the most sense.
For sure. So that rung a bell of mine. Our first interview we did on this channel was Edward from ZoidPay, and ZoidPay, in case anyone watching the video hasn't heard, they're aiming at to be this kind of liquidity layer. And I'm curious, Ryan, if you've looked into what ZoidPay is building, and specifically what they highlight with that Chrome extension. And they have basically every single, including lock mex, as a option for people to make payments online. So obviously the evolution of Web3 and cryptocurrency will be, ever revolutionizing. But has there been any looking into something similar to what ZoidPay is doing, even maybe partnering with ZoidPay in some way using their algorithm, so that no matter what crypto you decide to use or you have in your wallet, you can still, boom, use the Chartr app, use it as a user, use it as a pilot, and just, that whole liquidity layer, that flow just can be so interoperable?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Really impressed with what ZoidPay's, what they've done so far and what they've accomplished. I haven't given it a lot of thought, and that's mostly just because there's so much going on around here that I rarely have time to peek into other things, and if I do, I'm not giving it a legitimate look, just because time is something I don't have a lot of.
Sure.
But nothing's off the table. I love what they're doing from what I've seen from a high level, so to speak. But that's essentially what Prime Trust does as well. They're our liquidity layer. But so what the way it works is you have Plaid. Plaid is your connector to the bank. It can verify funds, connect to the bank, because you don't want to have a double spend scenario to where, in the olden days before we had this layer, you'd be able to say, okay, I connect my bank, I'm going to buy $10,000 worth of Bitcoin, I transfer that Bitcoin to an exchange and I sell it. Well, by the time you sold it, they still haven't even verified that you had the funds to sell in the first place or to buy the Bitcoin. And so they were running into a bunch of problems. So now you have this authentication layer, which is Plaid, that will verify all the funds before there's anything transferred. And then you have Prime Trust, which is your liquidity layer that actually is moving the funds, and it's paper trading for the most part, because just like any exchange does through hot wallets and things like that. But they're the ones that connect you with market makers and move funds in and out and stuff like that. But I think somebody like ZoidPay would definitely still have a place, with Chartr and expanding our capabilities and payment protocols. So yeah, I think it's something we'll definitely look into. If not partnering, just using their service like a normal client or customer would. But I think before I can say anything, I honestly need to do a better look into it and get my ducks in a row as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, well, I definitely appreciate that transparency, and I can definitely relate. It's like a lot of things are developing, and there's always new stuff kind of popping up. And for the podcast itself, Alec and I are basically in a way responsible for covering whatever people are interested in. And it's like, okay, like I will acknowledge when something pops up, but like odds are, unless it really kind of comes back to me and gives me a really meaningful reason to look into, like odds are I'm just kind of gonna revert back to, as with most other people, just revert back to, what am I doing, what am I building, what am I interested in. And for now it sounds like you have plenty, you being Aerovek and the team already have these intermediaries and partnerships kind of figured out. So it's great that that's something you're not closed off to in any way. But it's also awesome that there's already solutions being discovered, kind of as is with the resources that you've got.
Yeah, definitely. I like to call myself an opportunist, in the sense that I never turn down an opportunity until I explore it. I think it's served me well in my life. I'm not one of those people that says no very often, because I like to explore everything, and sometimes it gets me in trouble. And, I think it comes with the territory of being so open to new ideas and new opportunities. So, one thing that I miss the most, I think, is being just a general community member that I can bounce around and research these projects, because I used to love doing that, and now I just don't have the time. And when I do have free time, I don't want to spend it on the computer, because, every waking minute's on a freaking computer. And I'm sure you guys can relate, being in the tech industry, no matter what you do, you're always on a computer or on a phone or some device. And it's like, I need a break from it. So, my outlet is getting drunk on the golf course. I think that's one of the greatest things a human can do, even though it's one of the most frustrating and it pisses you off every time, but I keep going back because, glutton for punishment or whatever. But, it's a good way to get out, green grass and birds chirping and
Oh yeah.
throwing golf clubs and slamming beers. So,
I love that.
it's fun. But that's about the only thing I get out and do now. I have a son who just went into 8th grade. I try to spend time with him, playing golf and doing whatever. But other than that, I don't have a lot of time to just sit there and dick around on the computer.
Yeah. That's crazy. Time is such a valuable resource, and the more you're talking about how you're an opportunist, and when it comes to just Aero, not even talking about Kavarii quite yet, just you see another opportunity, something to add to the Chartr app, etc. And it's like, yes, we need this. Yes, that sounds awesome. And then before you know it, it's like, oh my goodness, this just like literally extended the timeline of these things. And when it comes to stitching it all together, it's like sometimes those things can really build on each other, on themselves exponentially. And I guess that as a CEO is where it comes down to you to kind of get together and use your own mind to really think about what patterns or what colors, and speaking in metaphor, are important to be a part of that stitching, and what things can maybe be put off until maybe the mainnet or the alpha version of whatever it is kind of hits the road. So time is a very, very valuable resource, to say the very least.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Very well put. I'm one of those people when I'm going to add a new feature to something that I'm not necessarily building, I don't like to just throw it on, the other developers and be like, hey, go ahead and add this, and they're just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, really? So I try to build it first, for them, or at least a prototype of it, and get all the base functionality done. So then when they go to integrate it or implement it, they've already got a head start. And, that's my way of, I guess, helping. Sometimes it doesn't help. They're like, dude, just let me do it. And it's like, all right, whatever. But, it just comes with the cool culture that we have around here, that everybody just wants to build cool shit.
Well, speaking of cool shit being built, man, if you guys are okay, I think we should start talking about Kavarii, dude, because I think this is a pretty cool passion project that you guys are pushing out. And I know a lot of people have questions about what's going to be going down with this system. So I was doing some research myself into the Kavarii platform that you guys are building. And really one of the questions that came to my mind first is Web 2 versus Web 3. YouTube versus Kavarii, because that's how I'm seeing it right now. Is how do you guys plan to compete with this
behemoth?
A giant thing that is YouTube,
Yeah, that's a great question. I wish I had a direct answer that's like, boom, this is how we're going to take them down. But I just don't think that answer exists. And I'm okay with that. I don't come into this, being like, all right, Kavarii is going to be the biggest video platform on the planet. That's not my intention. Obviously, that's a great goal to have and something to work towards. And, I really wish it happens one day. But honestly, we take it one step at a time, and we look at the current problems that, each platform has. And, YouTube's got its problems. Twitch has its problems. Every side, doesn't matter what it is, has its problems, right? And so how do we tackle those? How do we go about making it better, giving a better user experience, given the voice and the power and all that back to the creator and so on and so forth. So we have multiple mechanisms in place to really kind of tackle these issues. One of them is the advisory council that we announced this week. It's a team of it's going to be a maximum of 31 people that are executive heads, that are attorneys, that are content creators, that used to work at Microsoft and Google, that have insight into the industry from a very diversified perspective. And so what that does is it allows us to think multi-dimensional all the time, right? It's not just me or Max or Mike or whatever being like, all right, this is what we're going to build, boom, this is what we're going to do. Everything we do, we want to bounce it off of them and get all their different perspectives. And that way we have this diversified thought process that allows us to attack these behemoths at multiple angles, so to speak. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is content ownership. I think that's an easy way to say, okay, this is what makes us different than YouTube or Twitch or any of the Web 2, products that are out there. And, content ownership might not be important for everybody. But I think as time progresses, they're going to see what the benefits of that are, right? I was talking to my kid about this last night. He's like, why wouldn't I just upload it to YouTube rather than, Kavarii? I said, you realize when you upload to YouTube, they own your content, right? When you upload to Facebook, they own your content. Now they have the rights to this and do whatever they want. They can shut it down. They can delete it, or whatever they want to do. Not that they're always going to do that, but they have the capabilities.
Yeah.
When you have the blockchain, nobody has that capability but you. If you want to burn the NFT, go for it. But the way I like to describe Kavarii is it's a user interface for the blockchain. It's not a platform itself, that hosts any data. The only thing the server hosts is the code. It doesn't hold any files. It doesn't hold any, videos or even thumbnails or anything like that. Or it's completely decentralized in that sense that if somebody else wanted to build their own interface to tie into Kavarii data, they easily could. It's not, nobody's going to stop them from doing that. And I think it's a powerful thing that's going to take a lot of education for people to understand what the benefits and differences are and why it matters to them. And we can dive deeper into the functionality. And, I know there was a lot of questions around sending tokens, with likes and subscribes and minting fees and things like that. So, just at a high level, the big differences are going to become apparent as these behemoths kind of show their hand more and more with the out of control censorship and things of that nature.
Yeah, you mentioned the out of control censorship, and Steven, I know you expressed some frustration on our previous podcast with some of the censorship of some of your favorite creators out there.
Yeah.
So it's nice and refreshing to see that there is a platform being developed that is trying to limit that kind of censorship, because I know you guys said that, or your website says that it's still going to be an algorithm for content that is maybe illegal. Let's just boil it down to that. That's illegal. So it's definitely really refreshing. And so in terms of like uploading your videos and doing the likes and all that stuff, I think a really good question that I saw within the community is that it's going to cost, what, 0.05 Eagle to upload per video. Is that something that's going to be scalable? Because someone mentioned a really good point. Let's say Eagle returns back to 540, man.
It goes like $10,000, right? It's like, I'm like, $1,000 to make a video. Yeah, of
exactly.
course. It's going to be a fluid fee, and it's always going to stay at, a couple bucks or less. The goal of this is not for us to get rich, right? That's not the intention behind it. But what we want users to understand is there's drawbacks to being Web3 and owning your own data, right? You have to pay for that data storage. IPFS isn't completely free, right? So if we have, let's say, 1,000 videos being uploaded a day, the average video size is 500 megs or whatever, you could see how that would get expensive. So there's no way we'd stay in business, unless we wanted to bring in a bunch of capital from venture capitalists and things like that, which, is not... It's not out of the question, but it's not something that we're actively engaging in. We want to build a platform for the users and let the users control the platform through that peer-to-peer experience. So the fee is a starting point for us, and we use that starting point because that's what Elrond chooses with their NFT minting smart contracts. It's a good number to kind of kick off, but to help out with that is the Kavariian NFT. So people that let's say you guys are going to be posting your podcast at Kavarii every, once a week or twice a week or whatever. You can hold a Kavariian and never pay mint fees ever, right? So people that really believe in the project, that want to get behind it and have a stake in it, then you have a ticket or a key to bypass all of that. It still supports the project, but also it gives you free will to post whatever you want without ever having to pay the fee.
Yeah. So rewinding it just a little bit to that initial question Alec brought up about, this idea Kavarii versus YouTube. And just as you were kind of addressing that question, Ryan, and as I've been digesting and ingesting all of this Web3 stuff and specifically surrounding what's being done at Kavarii, it's and especially I think it's kind of pinpointed almost with the fact that Kavarii, as you say, is this passion project. And I remember in your interview with Marcus with Go Guy Go, his YouTube channel is a passion project too. And I mean, look at podcast Elrond, look at Alec and I would call this a passion project as well. So it really, comes down to for me, obviously this will grow, adapt, and it will take on a life of its own. But I mean, just simply, like, I'll just go ahead and say, for the sake of saying it, it's just like, this isn't about beating YouTube. Like, this is about how you can start putting your content on Kavarii. And Alec and I are, maybe one day we'll get monetized, we'll start earning some money through YouTube. But you start monetizing your content the minute somebody subscribes, the minute somebody likes, whatever action is done on Kavarii that puts that Kavarii token in your own wallet. It's like, this isn't about beating YouTube. This is about just like, it's like this brand new, not to use like this farming or garden metaphor, but to me it just feels like this, I don't know, it sounds dramatic, but like, just like a really beautiful, like, cultivative, ecosystem that I think, because it's founded on just these roots of just just putting value back into a content creator's, not even like pockets, because it's not about money, but just the humanistic trait of like, oh, I want to do something valuable, I want to share something that's important to me, like music. It's like, I know that I can put it out there, and I'll choose Kavarii because it's just it feels better than, oh, I'm just gonna dump it into this highly diluted platform that YouTube is, and cross my fingers that people like the content, that the algorithm will choose it, that I'm just gonna hyper focus on all these little details of, oh, did I use the right thumbnail. It's like, you'll just find ways to find a lot of use at Kavarii, and it won't necessarily be because Kavarii beat YouTube. It's like, well, I think over time, because it's so good, it will just be attractive in that nature.
Yeah, no, that's beautifully put. And I 1,000% agree. I don't look at this as we're trying to take down YouTube, right? But YouTube can go be YouTube. I don't have a problem with that. Good for them. But yeah, it's completely organic. It's grassroots. It's it's one of those things that we're not in competition with anybody. We're just building the best product possible because I'm the end user. I'm the person I'm building this for, essentially, because I'm such a huge consumer of content on YouTube, or videos in general. I love to learn stuff. When I was learning how to code, I was constantly watching tutorials, and when I can't fix my slice on the golf course, I'm constantly watching 1,000 different ways to fix it and still can't freaking fix it. And it's there's so much value there, right? But I do feel bad for the creators themselves. It's how many likes and views and all that does it take till you start earning money, right? And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If you're not there, it's so hard to get there because of the algorithms and everything else. So breaking through that barrier, it's almost impossible, no matter how great the content is. So taking that kind of aspect of it and saying, okay, how do we flip it on its head? How do we put the spotlight on everybody that wants to be on the platform, that wants to be seen, that has an opinion to voice or whatever. And this is how I would want to use it as a user. But for me, the most important thing is getting rid of ads. I can't stand the ads, and every year it seems like they get worse. And people are like, oh, well, just go buy YouTube Premium for $20. And it's like, how much money does YouTube need? Like, they're already making all this money, and now they're gonna have to make me pay all this money to get rid of ads. Does that money go to the creators? Like, I don't know where it goes, or does it go to YouTube?
For sure.
Right? So building a transparent platform to where it's like, where all your money's going, because it goes directly from you to the creator. We don't take a cut of anything. The only fee that Kavarii gets is that minting fee, and that's to cover the IPFS uploads, the servers, the bandwidth, everything for us to stay in business. Everything else is 100% peer-to-peer. So, it's going to be exciting to see how this social economy really grows.
Yeah.
It's an experiment. I don't think this has been done anywhere. It's nothing that I know of. So will it work? I don't know. I mean, honestly, it's going to be up to the users whether it works or not. Are the users going to want to engage and send tokens to a creator? We put a mechanism in for a user rewards pool. So if you dislike a video, or if you report a video, you're still sending tokens, but they're not going to the creator. They're going to a user rewards pool. And then that pool, those tokens get divvied back to the users for engaging, right? So yeah, you're sending tokens to the creator, but you're also getting tokens back in a sense. So,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, it's a crazy experiment, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so quick question to interject there also relates to the AERO token and obviously the Kavarii token too. It's kind of understood the volatility and the pegging of US dollar or whatever your native fiat currency is. So I guess it's kind of like a multifaceted question because it's kind of questioning, okay, so I got a KVRI token because somebody liked my video, etc., or I'm a pilot, I got paid in AERO. Obviously some of these things fluctuate, and just the idea of, okay, so like I've collected, I've got a bunch of these kind of tokens piling up in my wallet. I guess it's just that question of actually deriving that kind of value. Do you see this as an issue with cryptocurrency adoption and the volatility kind of getting, or rather the adoption getting to a place where volatility is increased? Also kind of to like what sort of issues might people have with wanting to use AERO or use Kavarii because it's like, oh well, like it's just it's highly fluctuative. I'm not sure if that's a word, but yeah. So what do you think are kind of like the pros and cons of using a token as currency for people to derive value?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's a very hard one to answer. The way I look at it is you have two ways it can go, right? It can go up or down. So the risk and the reward. Is the risk worth the reward? So on and so forth. So, one day you could get, say you got 10,000 tokens or whatever, and today it's worth $100. Tomorrow it could be worth $200, and you're like, holy shit, I love it, right? This is the greatest thing ever, and that's what I think. What everybody came into crypto for was number go up, right? We just want win Lambo. So
yeah.
the other aspect is, okay, number can go down, and then everybody's depressed, and the world's falling, and blah blah blah. So this is where stable coins come in, and I think this is the best way to answer this question. If volatility is a fear of yours, sit in stable coins. Earn your tokens, move them to a stable coin like USDC or whatever if you're on Elrond. And then spend the stable coin to get back into tokens when you want to spend it or whatever. I think stable coins are a very undervalued asset for trading for people, because people are inherently gamblers, right? They love that thrill and that excitement and that dopamine or whatever you want to say of watching number go up or number go down or whatever. But I'm a firm believer and I love stablecoin because it gives me that peace of mind to avoid fluctuations and protect my investment. If I'm looking at it from a company standpoint, I like my company to stay within stable coins for the most part, because I can't risk company funds, to make more money. It's not about greed, right? It's you've got to forget about the greed, and you've got to protect your assets to keep your business healthy and keep it running. And I think a lot of people made this mistake when the bear market hit. They weren't prepared. And then you hit a certain sense of it's already down 30-40%. It can't keep going down. Well, it's like, yeah, if I can.
Yes, it can.
Most likely it's going to keep going down. It's one of the greatest things ever is the trend is your friend, and that goes both ways, right? If you're trending down, it's most likely going to keep trending down. And so to kind of sum your question up, sitting in stable coins is the best hedge against fluctuating market. Fluctuations in crypto are so much more drastic than other markets. 20-30% a day, right? You're not seeing that on Forex or the stock market or anything like that. But in crypto, it's highly possible. But it can go both ways, right? You could be a winner today and a loser tomorrow. So, there's not much we can do about that, but just get adoption. The more adoption we have in the space, the more stable I think we'll get. But that's easier said than done. I mean, I don't think anybody's captured that task yet.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree there in terms of adoption. So kind of a two-folded question. So does that mean that, or maybe even a question or recommendation is, will there be a check mark for whether it be in the Chartr app or Kavarii for the content creator or whoever, it's basically an option for as soon as I receive, this token, like automatic swap to that stable coin. So question one and then question two is kind of, well, so why not just offer the kind of this incentivizing token as a stable coin rather than KVRI or AERO?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So the first part of the question, Kavarii is going to be included in that on and off ramp that we're building with Chartr.
Okay.
One of the great things about Plaid and Prime Trust is one account, essentially, so to speak, will cover all of our projects. So, you're going to have that ability to spend the Kavarii with your debit card or move it in and out of your bank account, things like that. So, to answer the second part is yes, you're going to be able to swap for USDC if you want to live in the stablecoin world. The reason we don't launch just a stablecoin is because not everybody, would want that.
Right.
They
do want to be exposed to that upside if it does come.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, I would not use a stablecoin in that sense either. It's for one, you get the excitement, but I think a lot of us that have come to crypto, we've come for that reason, right? It's a way to break free of the chains of the current monetary policy and the way that the dollar is treated and things like that, and hedge against inflation, or depending on how deep you want to go in that conversation. But it's the Kavarii token. I'm most excited to see what it does become because of the social economy. A lot of crypto tokens aren't used, right? They're bought and they're held and they're stored and then they're sold. So that's usually the lifespan of a crypto token. So having a platform like Kavarii to where every transaction is taking Kavarii in or sending it out or something like that, it's not enough to where you're like, I don't want to like this video because it's going to cost me $10. It's going to cost you maybe a penny or less, depending on where prices are. But to start out, it's going to be less than a penny. So it's not enough money to give it a second thought necessarily. But as a creator, it adds up, right? A little plus a little is a lot. So you start getting 100 likes, 1,000 likes, or whatever, and you're going to see how that can quickly grow and compound.
That's
and
exciting.
Across multiple videos, and as your channel grows.
That's I mean, thinking of YouTube platforms, like have you heard of Mr. Beast?
Yes, my son watches them.
Yeah, some people haven't heard of Mr. Beast.
Is he the most valuable YouTuber ever?
Oh yeah, but I'm just thinking like, oh my gosh, just imagining if obviously Mr. Beast is an extreme example, but just that's really exciting to imagine. Like, oh, I'm just putting up videos, like I'm creating the content that I love to share, and over time, like it's not like a video that you posted 5 years ago. It's like it's continuous. It's going, every single piece of monetization continues to accrue with every peer-to-peer transaction. And it's like, the idea of compounding just from an investment standpoint is extremely powerful. There's, famous quotes about that, but it's like now you're like painting on this layer of like, content creation, and really like you become the content creator will become in charge of how much they want to crank up that knob of compounding. Obviously it'll come down to the content they're making and whether or not people literally just want to digest it. But in a world where we all want to share and create, thinking of the potential of that mechanism, yeah, I mean, that's really exciting. I feel like the power and the potential for that.
Yeah, it's I'm most excited to see what happens with it, because I honestly don't know, right? It's like you were saying, what if we get 1 million users, right? And these million users, are getting millions of views, and I wanted to create, in a way to, like I was saying, where you like a video, you're not paying attention to the monetary value, because, there's 7.6 billion coins out there. It's such a high supply. It's like Doge or, something like that, to where you can buy 1 million of them off the exchange for a couple $100. So sending 7 of them like as Mex. A like, yeah, like Mix. There you go. It's not going to be something where you're not going to second guess liking this video because it's going to be too expensive, right? The gas fees are going to cost more than the actual tokens will in most cases. So, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, because it won't have that aspect, or at least I hope it doesn't, of people hoarding their coins, not wanting to like videos because, but if you have 1 billion coins in your wallet, or a million or whatever, sending 7 isn't going to break the bank, right? You're going to feel like a crypto millionaire using Kavarii because everything's going to be so cheap. But like I said, it all adds up when you get a lot of users and a lot of engagement and things like that. So that's the ultimate goal. We'll see if we can pull it off or not, I guess.
Hell yeah.
Well, that's the user experience side. I'd love to get into a little bit about the tech because I had some questions myself when I was doing some research, specifically referring to your going live on Kavarii and that it's going to be a peer-to-peer live experience. You mentioned something on your website that this experience won't be hosted over servers, if I'm saying that correctly. This will be a web browser experience. Can you tell me a little bit about how that would work?
Yeah, so traditional live streams like on Twitch and things like that, they run through servers, meaning the server is hosting that stream in one way, shape, or form. We're using a peer-to-peer format that it runs completely in your browser. So our servers aren't handling any of the load of the bandwidth or the streaming, which means it's infinitely scalable. So if you and I are on a stream, I'm hosting a stream, you're watching it. All the power is running through your browser and through my browser. It's not bogging down the Kavarii servers in any way because they're not touching the servers in any way. It's being relayed and being pulled in through the browser specifically. I guess I'm trying to put it in a way that maybe non-techie people would understand, but it's not a uncommon way to do it. But you don't have control over the content as a server host. So most people don't do it that way, right? So if I'm Twitch, right, or YouTube, I make money off stuff that's on my server, right? Because I have control over it. I host the stream itself. I can cut you off if I want to. But in a peer-to-peer browser, me as the systems admin, I can't come in and just turn your stream off. Like it's running in your browser as a WebSocket, and nobody's going to turn it off. I mean, we can take down the page, so it can't be viewed, or if I wanted to go to an extreme, obviously. But in the sense of decentralization, it's the most decentralized streaming process that I could come up with, think of, or have ever seen.
So, who is hosting the video then? Is there some outside servers that are hosting it, or it's just
your browser
there?
Yeah, it's running directly through your browser.
Wow, that is pretty cool. And so that brings me to another question. You mentioned that the data for Kavarii is the only thing that's going to be stored on your guys' servers specifically. Where are the videos, man?
So no, we're not even storing data. Well, the only thing we store is arbitrary data, things that can't be sent to a smart contract. When you view a video, we can't send that to a smart contract, right? You're not going to sign a transaction saying I viewed this video. So arbitrary data like that. And so we have views. And I think that's all we have at this point. I tested different things, but if you make a live stream, private or public, that's stored in a database because we want to know do you want this pulled into the homepage when people visit Kavarii, or is this private, amongst you and your friends or something like that? So just arbitrary data like that. But all the data, so the videos are hosted on IPFS. So the way that our mechanism works, in my opinion, is pretty innovative. When you upload a video, it's not uploading to our server. It uploads to an encoder on the fly, and so it's just a script. And so the encoder takes the incoming file, it encodes it, compresses it into MP4 and H.264 format, and then on the fly sends it to IPFS, which returns a CID, which is your URL unique ID, basically. And when we have that CID back, then that goes into your minting form. And then when you go to mint the NFT, then that's the URL for the thumbnail and for the video. And then it's all stored on the blockchain. So nothing ever touches our servers. Nothing is ever, even for a split second, hosted on there. It's all done on the fly and on the way to IPFS, and then returns that unique identifier.
Awesome. And you mentioned that these videos that people are going to be uploading are going to be considered as NFTs. So when I think of NFTs, I think of something I could trade on the marketplace. Mm-hmm. Is that something I could do with a video I would upload?
Yeah, it's no different. So one option that we're exploring that I want to do is turning them into SFTs. So say you create stock footage. Max over there does a drone footage of flying through a canyon or something, and he wants to sell that as stock footage videos, so he can mint 10,000 of them on the site, and then people can click and buy and transfer that SFT to them. When you go and, if you use Maya or Connect into Kavarii and you mint a video, when you go into Maya and look at your NFTs, your video is right there. It's no different than any other NFT. The only difference is we have an image thumbnail and a video URL.
That's pretty sick.
But yeah, with that being said, I mean, the video, I guess, unless the content creator, I mean, I assume the content creator does have a decision to remove content. Like if, Alec and I went on our YouTube channel and we deleted a video, is that, I mean, because it's stored, in this very unique way, I mean, I assume the content creator will still have control over, technically speaking, if that NFT is still mintable through Kavarii.
Yeah, so if you mint a video and say you screw up or you mess up, the URL or something, Kavarii has a burn function. So you go to your account, you just click burn NFT and it burns it and it's gone. There's kind of a misconception on Elrond about what burning actually does. Some people think that it actually burns it into ash and it's no longer anywhere in the world, which is not true. Basically, when you burn an NFT, what it does is it removes the ownership and the creator addresses from it. So therefore, there's no account attached to it, and it's just floating off in cyberspace somewhere on the blockchain, obviously, but it's not attached to anything. So there's no way to really pull it back in or identify it as your NFT or anything like that. It's unless somebody went combing through the Explorer and looking through the blocks, they're not going to find it.
Yeah. So in a roundabout way, could a content creator basically leverage Kavarii as a means of essentially opening the floodgates to mint an NFT, and they say, oh, at certain time after I feel like it or after X many people have minted this, they just delete it off of Kavarii, and at that point that creates that NFT as a more exclusive piece, and therefore creates more opportunity for them to throw it on a second party marketplace. Whereas obviously if you can go to Kavarii and continually mint this video for this low reasonable price, if that means through Kavarii is no longer available, then at that point comes the opportunity for them for I guess the owners of those NFTs to start leveraging, I guess, trading that NFT video on a secondary marketplace.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you can you have true ownership. You can do whatever you want. You can transfer it to a buddy. You can sell it on a marketplace if you want. You can burn it. I mean, whatever you want to do with it, you can do with it. And if it's an SFT, you can create multiple versions of it and you can sell them. Really the sky's the limit, and what's cool about it is we're so early with NFT technology that we still haven't thought about 90% of the utilities that we're going to gain out of it, right? From concert tickets to airplane tickets to, you name it. So it's going to be cool to what it builds into, but we're also building out docs with APIs. So where, say you're a content creator and you create just a shit ton of content on Kavarii, you're going to be able to build your own personal interface, your own analytics tools. Cool. For somebody like me who's like a complete freaking nerd, I would love that shit, right? I can, like YouTube has APIs. Well, we'll have our own APIs, and if somebody wanted to go out and build their own, Kashmari, they could go do that, and they could build their own video sharing platform using all the same functions, same smart contracts, everything. Because like I said, at the end of the day, we're just an interface for the blockchain. Anybody can kind of expand on it, build off it. They could build tools for it, whatever. So it's a true community project, and it'll be interesting to see how it takes shape over the next couple of years.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited to see all of this continue to grow. And I remember when NFTs first came out, they were only on Ethereum. People were talking about them at work, and this was just out of kind of like the bottom of between kind of like 2018 2019, and I was conditioned to just kind of disregard all this hoopla talk of just like, oh, NFT sounds like some other shit coin, and then like obviously it has blossomed into what I know it to be today. And as you said, I mean I totally agree, like there are going to be countless use cases for NFTs, let alone just Web3 and blockchain, that I don't know. It's like it's slightly intimidating to kind of be standing out, looking over this edge, and understanding just the power that it has. It's exciting, but there's that famous quote. I don't know if it was popularized by Spider-Man, probably not. But just with great power comes great responsibility,
Yep.
and that's relevant to the conversation of censorship. But yeah, really excited to see all of this continue to grow and adapt and just blossom, I guess.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
speaking of NFTs, man, let's go ahead and get into your Kavariian mint that's coming up on August 20th. Can you tell us why you're excited about the Kavariian NFTs that you guys are going to be releasing? I saw some of the art. Are these going to be 2D, 3D art? Can you tell us a little bit about the features, the perks, and why the rest of the community should be excited?
For sure.
Yeah,
Great question.
100%. So when we first started thinking about, the NFT drop, it was going to be an SFT because it wasn't about the art for us. We're not an NFT project, right? There's plenty of great artists out there doing art-based projects. It was a pass for us, because we knew, okay, there's minting fees on Kavarii. We want to give people the ability to have a lifetime pass. People that believe in the project, that want to have a stake of ownership in it, so to speak. So this was a way for us to do that, is to give people a tokenized pass to the platform to bypass the fees and things like that. So that's the main kind of feature function utility of it. One eGLD mint, there's 2,500 that will only ever be available. So at 0.05, quick math, you mint 20 videos and it pays for itself. And then the rest are free for life. So it's a great perk for people that want to create content and go that nature. But like I said, it was originally going to be an SFT. We weren't going to focus on the art so much. But then it's like, okay, let's do some artwork. Like, let's make it cool and let's make them unique to kind of give them that extra layer of I don't know if you want to call it utility or whatever, but it's 3D art, that is kind of the best anon looking person I could think of. And I really am a fan of those kind of neon masks with the X'd out eyes, and whatever. I've always thought those were really cool. And I'm like, that kind of goes with the neon kind of the vibe that Kavarii has. So let's kind
I
of
like
keep
the
it with that.
branding of Kavarii a lot.
Yeah, it turned out really well. Max and Mike did a fantastic job putting that together, and the whole color schemes and between the logos and the messaging and everything is really vibrant and lively, so to speak. But with the NFT, it's more of that dark horse, that guy that feels like he's in the shadows and nobody pays attention to him or whatever. That anon being, so it kind of came or was inspired from that, and so we wanted to make it with that unique ability, but still have that vibe of being that anon creator that's behind the scenes, just doing what everybody else doesn't want them to do, essentially. With the whole censorship and all that kind of bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so with that said, some of the perks you mentioned, free minting fees on Kavarii, and I'm seeing here too the early access to beta, but then kind of wrapping it a little bit around to some of those, we've talked about the content creator incentives, but involving the incentives for users, and these Kavarii NFTs will have an engagement rewards multiplier, which I think is really incredible. But tell us more about what are some of these user incentives for everybody. And side question is do you think, obviously it will kind of come down to time and how it grows and develops, but is the goal, and maybe do you imagine for users to really find a significant stream of income simply just by interfacing as a user on Kavarii?
Yeah, so the user incentives are derived from two functions. And this is without the NFT, and I'll get into how the NFT kind of grows on this. But we wanted a way for the users to get rewarded for engaging with content creators, right? And really have a circular social economic platform, not just one direction. So we keep track of all the engagement that a user does, whether it's liking a video, subscribing, or whatever. And all that gets stored in a contract and, tied to that user's address. And then we mix in every second of every video that a user watches. We keep track of that to kind of use the engagement in that time as a algorithm to say, okay, this user is truly engaged with the platform and the creator. So every time you report a video or you dislike it, it's sending tokens to that rewards pool. That rewards pool is then divvied back out to users based on their engagement and the time spent watching the video. So the more time you spend, but it's a ratio between the two. So you can't just watch 1,000 hours of videos and not engage and get rewarded for that. You need to like and dislike and whatever a normal user is going to do, and then we compare that with the time watched. So you're not sitting there just liking spam and liking videos and whatever. So we
Make
can
a
tell
career out of spamming.
Yeah, exactly. Because there are some weirdos out there that do that shit for some reason.
For sure.
So that's the general rewards pool. So now if you're an NFT holder and you're doing all of this, let's say for your engagement today, you're going to make 1,000 tokens. If you hold 2 NFTs, well, now you made double that. 3, 4, and I think the max is 4, which is a 5-time multiplier. So you're going to get 5 times those rewards through beta. And so all these rewards are going to be multiplied through the beta phase, because we want to encourage people to battle test the site, in every which way, shape, or form. And we know that, beta is going to be launched on mainnet. And so there's going to be some cost involved with gas fees and things like that. So this is a great way to kind of reward them for that and kind of pay it forward. Like, hey, thanks for, engaging in the platform, testing it out, spending your gas fees and spending your Kavarii. This is something that, we can reward you for doing that, but also reward you for believing in the project and holding one of the NFTs.
That's awesome.
A question that a community member had that I thought was a really good one in terms of like just spreading the word about Kavarii. In an effort to lower the bar of access, are you going to be creating an app that would allow third-party wallets, Trust Ledger, Metamask, and all those to connect to the Kavarii app? Or is this going to specifically be within the eGLD community?
Yeah, so for the first foreseeable future, it's going to be only on Elrond. It's hard enough to build this stuff on one blockchain, let alone integrating multiple blockchains. I am not going to say no to it because anything's possible, but it's not on the books for right now. We know that in order for Kavarii to get mainstream adoption, if we're lucky enough to get to that phase and fortunate enough to have enough users to be wanting to bridge over to different blockchains, then it's going to be a necessity in some fashion. I've done Ethereum development, and it's fairly simple to tie in MetaMask logins and things of that nature. But I'm not exactly sure, since all of Kavarii works through, Elrond smart contracts, how that would work. So, I've seen this question and I've been asked it a few times. I think the best explanation of how that could potentially work would be a bridge of some sort. So you can connect your MetaMask wallet, you can exchange your Ethereum or whatever for Kavarii tokens, and then carry on through the site, that way. That would be the easiest and quickest way really to get that implemented. But allowing all functionality through, Ethereum or another blockchain would essentially be building a whole nother site, because it does depend so much on these Rust smart contracts and not Solidity. So, maybe there's somebody smarter out there than me that can be like, oh, we could do it like this. And I'd be all ears. Like, okay, shit, let's try to figure it out. But at this point, I just don't see a clear direction on how to do that.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those kind of big, not so much dilemmas, but I guess opportunities is just, do we focus on, one kind of protocol being Elrond Network? Do we, try to set ourselves up for success and try to bridge out to these other protocols? But I think for the time being, it seems a little bit, mutually beneficial for Kavarii, and of course, that leads me to just question just this broad idea of adoption for cryptocurrencies. And as everybody's eager to know, what does it look like for Elrond to be adopted, especially in the United States? So I am curious about those thoughts, but referring more to just how you mentioned the importance of communication and sending messages out, tell us some about what marketing strategies your team has, whether it be for AERO, whether it be for Kavarii, kind of as we close the year 2022 and open a new chapter of 2023, what are your missions, and as you direct your team being the CEO, what can we expect from your team, and what can we be excited for, and what can we be looking out for?
So we're really big on building councils and ambassadors and things like that. I'm a firm believer, and the best way to get a message out is grassroots organic. You have the paid media style, which we want to do pay per clicks and all that kind of crap. But really, for Aerovek, it's the Pilot Ambassador Program,
Cool.
which is a community of pilots and aviation professionals that are kind of a board of directors of sense. That help guide the project, laws, regulations, things like that. But they're out there beating the drum in their local aviation communities, bringing in more pilots through, the airports that they work in and out of and things like that. So, there's a big chicken and the egg problem with technology is how do you get users without content and how do you get content without users, right? I mean, it's something that I think majority of all projects that have failed for that reason. So our way to tackle that is to build these ambassador programs to go out there and beat the drum for us.
Awesome.
As well as doing our own marketing, branding, through the standard channels that, everybody would expect. If we need to go to Google Ads to get messaging out, we will. It's not a preferred method. We like to go where the people are, which is, social media and things like that. We started building out a TikTok, even though I'm not a huge TikTok person. It might be the boomer in me or whatever, but
me too, for the record.
but you got to go where the people are, and so
Yeah.
We hired a social media manager who's absolutely legit. I mean, this guy's fire. He started last week or the week before.
That's awesome.
And he's been working on educating himself on the projects, things like that. And he's just now getting ready to hit the ground running. He started a TikTok for us and pumping the Instagram and things like that. Instagram's really great for capturing some sky footage and pilot videos and things like that. So that's kind of the Aerovek side. The Kavarii side is real similar, but instead of the Pilot Ambassador Program, we have the Advisory Council, which is what we started announcing this week. We've been fortunate enough to grab some really heavy hitters so far between Vanessa and Will and Jared. These guys, it's such a diversified group of great thought leaders, and the way that these people think different than us because of their backgrounds and experience is what we need. We need people from all facets of the industry, kind of help pushing us, forward in different directions or whatever. But we're going to expand that advisory council out to more. We've got some pretty big celebrities that we're talking with currently that are content creators that I'm not going to drop yet because nothing's finalized. But
for sure,
we've got one we've been working on for a while that we had another call with them this morning, and that's very promising. And I think once that comes out, people are going to be like, holy shit, millions and millions of followers across all different channels. So, really going after that aspect of it, getting really big content creators to join the platform, because with the creators will come the followers, and the fans and everything like that. So that's the direct approach we take with Kavarii, is to go after the big creators to try to get,
that's awesome.
Because you get the creators and the fans in one swoop there. And being able to offer them, the social economic benefits of you earn on your first like and subscribe and blah, blah, blah. And then, we've got the short videos that everybody likes, like reels and stuff like that coming. We've been trying to come up with a cool name, and thanks to Marcus out there, go. He sent me a couple names yesterday, and I was like, yeah, man, one of those is it. There's two of them.
Let's go.
So we'll be dropping that out pretty soon. Version 2 is in the works, and version 1 was a prototype kind of proof of concept. Like, hey, can we stream videos from IPFS? Like, is this shit even going to work? And now that because of encoding and compression and some other technology, it works, and we're like, sweet. So let's expand on this, and version 2 is going to have a lot of those new features and shit that I think a lot of people are going to like. And so if we can do everything that we want to do right, then it should turn out the way that we hope. But we'll see.
And that's what I think people, I mean, sometimes including myself, but I think that I'm more bullish than some. But yeah, I mean, like just considering just how quickly adoption really can occur. I mean, both for Kavarii, but also too because, of course, you're using the Elrond network. It's like, I mean, again, you didn't name drop, but just like the idea of, let's just say that Kavarii is able to land a significant content creator and how easily that could start a fire for that person to essentially, if they so decide, I'm moving all of my content exclusively to Kavarii. This is why. And it's not because, so much, oh, screw Web2, screw YouTube. It's like, this is connecting me with my audience, peer to peer, you and me. You can support me. This is no longer, hit the subscribe button, like it, and that's how we connect. And then that allows for that because it's, more peer to peer, gives even more kind of room, I think, for communities to breathe, grow, develop, find their homes. And before you know it, I mean, that's how I think adoption is going to happen. And, the cliche saying slowly then suddenly, I'm one of those believers that cliches are kind of cliche or stereotypes can be so for a reason. But I think that cryptocurrency, back when I learned about it in 2017, and as it's grown into Web3, it's a pile of I want to say dry powder, but gunpowder, I guess. That, I mean, just a small spark could just send this off. And I think that right now, just the biggest issue, the biggest challenge is how early maybe people in 2017 when Bitcoin first hit 20K, they're like, oh, what is this thing? And they look into it and it's like, what the heck? I don't understand this at all. And then the bubble popped and it rejected so many people. And this time around, this revolution, it's going to come back again. I think price kind of tends to attract a lot of people initially, that kind of gets the headlines. And then I think not if, but when that happens, like people are going to be like, oh my gosh, like this coin, increased in this amount. And then they start to look into it, that's the first little tip of the domino. And then they are mind blown because this entire industry has been just building and not even building. Let's talk about roots here, because those roots are digging in deep, and those root systems are now kind of meeting each other all under the surface. And whether it's a building metaphor, a plant metaphor, or a tip of the iceberg metaphor, man, like, I don't know. Like I said, it's a little bit scary just because of the potential of what will become. But I'm curious to hear if you have any thoughts on adoption, how you see it playing out. And I guess just, as we kind of wrap up here, the time's getting later here. So just any words of advice for community members, people who want to get engaged. Like, the floor is kind of yours to respond and to, speak your wisdom, speak your insights.
Yeah, no, that's a great kind of intro into that. I 100% agree with all that. If I had to pass advice on, it's really hard in this space because you don't want to give financial advice to somebody.
Yeah.
And people really care about money. I mean, that's why everybody, when they first come into crypto, that's like you said, that's what they're thinking about. They think it's their gateway to get rich quick, and we've become accustomed to this overnight success in crypto or the potential of it, so to speak. But if I had to give advice, the one thing would be find your passion, find what you're good at, find out what you love. And there's somewhere for you in this space, right? There's so much diversity of different types of projects and different communities that you don't have to settle like you would in traditional corporate, America or whatever.
For sure.
If you want to be a content creator, there's plenty of ways to go do that, and start building your audience and building your fan base and whatever. If you want to be a builder, there's plenty of resources to start learning how to code and start developing, right? It depends on where you want to start and where you want to be, but this is your opportunity to work at something that you love doing, right? In which, that's another one of those cliches is if, you do what you love, you never work a day in your life, right? Well, this is one of those true opportunities where, that's what I'm doing. That's what Kavarii is about. That's what Aerovek's about is this is the stuff I'd be doing, regardless if it was a job or not, because, for one, I love to code. For two, I love to just build, new shit that has never been built before. And three, I like engaging with the community. it's this friendship and this family of, you're talking about these roots and this kind of organic, um, this organic community of people that all think alike and all have the same goal. So that's, find your passion, find where you want to fit in, and start engaging. Like, don't be afraid to ask questions and start, just meddling with different things, and don't ever marry your bags. I mean, that's one thing that I try to tell everybody is, people like get this tunnel vision of this is it, this is the end all be all crypto till the end of time, whatever it is. And I promise you, it's probably not. We're so early in this. So many more things are going to come in this space, and that's not to say that anyone's going to fail, but be prepared for more to come. I think we've got maybe 5 to 10% of the market paying attention to us, which leaves a lot of room for growth.
Oh yeah.
And one fear I have is the people we're trying to avoid are going to use their money and power to come steamroll what we're building now.
Yes.
And so we need to be aware of that. You've got companies like Meta, whatever you want to call it, jumping into the space. They have no business in this space. This space is to get away from them. And it's not, the approach that Zuckerberg has and these guys have to technology and taking your data and using it for their will and making you their product. That shit needs to stop. And I'll advocate against that till the day I die. I think it's so wrong and toxic on so many levels. And you've got people in the crypto space that are wanting these big companies to come in, right? Because they feel like it's a validation that we're all going to get rich or we're all going to be successful, as if these big corporate industries come into crypto. And it's like, no. Like, we the people have the power. We have the numbers. If we want this to be successful, we're the ones that are going to make it successful. We don't need Mark Zuckerberg coming into crypto, to make us legitimate. Like, that's the last thing that we need. So, that's the one tangent that I'll go on of, a fear that I have is careful what you wish for. Retail always wanted Wall Street to come in. Well, do you really think that's going to turn out well? Look at what they've done to other markets, and that's the last thing we need. We need more grassroots. We need more organic following and community members and organic projects popping up and people building these passion projects, so to speak.
Yeah, it's a brave, new, and possibly scary world out there. I think you brought up a really good point about fearing the other individuals that you talked about, because I think that's a fear that maybe a lot of us have, is that there is all this building, all this developing taking place, and what happens when maybe it becomes, maybe they don't see it as a significant threat right now, but what happens when it does become a significant threat? And I think that's when things are going to be interesting.
There's going to be a battle. It's going to be, between the traditional corporate and us minions, so to speak, sitting here trying to build a life for ourselves when, they're only interested in one of two things, power and money, and they go, hand in hand together. So that's not what we're about. We're about building tools that are useful, and if they're successful, then the rest will come. But we don't have this mindset of world domination. It's just a toxic trait that crypto doesn't need.
Yeah, it's almost as if Kavarii will truly be successful once YouTube starts censoring people advertising Kavarii on YouTube.
Yeah, I can't wait for that day. I'll pop a ball of champagne for that.
Hell yeah. But with that being said, let's just make sure to highlight those mint details going on this coming Saturday, August 20th. I believe it's Saturday, 1800 UTC. So check your regional time for that information. Total supply 2,500, as you mentioned, Ryan. It's a public mint. I'm personally glad that you're not doing any stuff on Discord, and I hate that stuff.
No jumping through hoops.
No jumping through hoops. 1 eGLD per NFT, maximum wallet per 5, or rather 5 is the max. And definitely want to make a huge shout out and a thank you to Together for Victor. A percentage of the mint fees will be going directly to that fundraising campaign. So whether you're a flipper, whether you're solely interested in a content creation or user standpoint of owning one of these NFTs, no matter what your engagement is, a portion of that mint minting fee is going to help family and a little baby boy in need. And there's a whole conversation about how wonderful that is and the awesome community that we have here at Elrond Network. But you know, the proof is in the pudding. Everybody who has heard what you've had to share and the advisor community that you've put together, it's just really, really awesome. It's such an inspiration for everybody. And, you know, to make matters just a little bit sweeter, the fact that you're United States based is, you know, just one more little additional benefit there. But man, Ryan, just thank you. Like, from me to you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks for being on our show, but like, forget the show. Like, dude, like you are awesome. I love your passion. I love your story and your just diligence and all the time, effort, energy, love, care, devotion you've put into just Web3 in general. It's a beautiful thing.
Well, thank you guys, man. I mean, I definitely appreciate that. This is why I do this stuff, you know, it's because guys like you, guys, you know, people in the community, you know, together for Victor, how everybody's come together for that. That's the motivation to keep going for this, because at the end of the day, if, like I said, if you were building stuff that, you know, people didn't care about or weren't involved, you know, you wouldn't keep doing it. And so, you know, all that's my motivation to keep going. And I know the rest of the team, you know, speaking for them, they definitely appreciate the community and, you know, definitely you guys for having us on here and kind of getting a chance to speak our words, and hopefully, you know, we can spark more questions in the community, and we can keep engaging with them, because, you know, at the end of the day, I'm always going to be a community member first. So I love to talk it up any chance we get.
Awesome, Ryan. Well, thanks for coming on, man. And from me to you, it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. And I just wish success on everything that you guys are putting out there. And I'm very excited for what the future holds for you all.
Much appreciated, man. We'll have to do this again a few months down the road after we launch, and then we'll have a little bit more to talk about probably.
Oh, for sure.
Love it. Well, that kind of wraps it up. Everybody tuning in, thank you so much. And if you're here, we love you. But go ahead and show some love online. Check out the links in the description. We'll make sure to supplement everything that Ryan has shared with us today. And obviously, we're interested in growing our channel, but I just want to focus on what Ryan is building, he and his team. So please follow Aerovek, follow Ryan. I mean, as if he's that interested in followers, but follow along on Kavarii on the official Twitter page. Get involved, reach out to Ryan or whoever. But yeah, that's really I got everything I have to say. Alec, Ryan, you guys got anything to close us out with?
That's it, man. It's been sick.
It's been fantastic, man. Much appreciated. Look forward to, you know, moving forward together and building cool shit. And yeah, go follow Elrond Podcast if you haven't already.
Hey. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next one.
Peace.